Yo, it's Bernard, and today I'm going to be doing an EDC update video for 2024. If you're new to the channel and you don't know who I am, I'm Bernard Kapulong, and I'm the founder of everydaycarry.com. That's a website that I started back in 2009 to blog about EDC gear, to review my favorite products, and also to give feedback to people who would share their EDC photos and want recommendations from me. So it's been over 10 years since I've been into the EDC gear space. And today I just wanted to show you the snapshot of where my EDC is at today. I think we should start with my pocket knife. This is the Kaiser Veritas, and I use this as an EDC knife, mainly for breaking down boxes, opening packaging, and on the weekends I volunteer at a food bank and we're just processing a lot of cardboard, plastic, that sort of thing. This is a Jacob Lundquist design, my first knife design from him. And this one's about $200, but I just love this design and the materials on it. So for $200, you do get a titanium handle, titanium frame lock. The centering on this is perfect. Fit and finish is really good. And the blade steel is S35VN, which is not the best, not the greatest, especially with like CPM MagnaCut out these days, but super serviceable and plenty for what I use it for. And overall, the reason I picked this knife as my EDC over so many others is just the design on it really resonates with me. It is kind of futuristic, kind of organic, not too showy, not too flashy, but there is design value in the small details whenever you look a lot closer. Square pivot that is flush, a flush pocket clip screw post here. So this is just a very sleek handle design. Despite it being completely flat, there is this textured pattern of like triangles. So you're already getting some texture and some angularity in the overall design language. And then you can kind of see that on the other side, where the frame lock also has that similar angularity to it. And it gives kind of a futuristic vibe, and I just happen to like futuristic design language. Then you also get this really nicely shaped pill hole for reverse flick deployment, and it is just framed perfectly by this recess here. There's also just really nice symmetry here by the top of the pivot, and that actually lets you guide your thumb when doing the front flipper on the thumb rollover. I think that's really cool. And the action on it is just so snappy, super satisfying, really solid knife, comfortable, light, durable, looks good, performs well. And I just thought this was slept on. So this is the Kaiser Veritas Jacob Lundquist. Love this knife. So next is my flashlight. And I don't carry a flashlight too often, but when I do, it is the Loop Gear SK03 in titanium. This is like another kind of a premium product at around $180, I believe, but it is well made and very feature packed. This one has a high CRI, kind of a neutral white tint to it. I believe it's a 6500K Philips LED. The inner side like glows in the dark in the head. And then this thing has this pocket clip that's also a multi-tool and stand. It has this locking blade that comes out. So you can just twist this to unlock the blade, and then you get a Damascus titanium blade mixed with a bottle opener. Like this can open packages like pretty fine, but other than that, you're not really doing too much with a blade this small and with this shape, but it is useful and nice to have. The other functionality of having this pocket clip, besides keeping a clip to your pants pockets, is that it's also magnetic and articulating. So it acts as a task light or kickstand, depending on how you use it. And there's just so many well-finished points of articulation on this. And again, it has this like really cool futuristic design. So this is around 1,000 lumens with USB-C recharging in the battery itself. This also has side lights. So if you hold the switch and release, then you get these blinking side lights here. And then they're high CRI. So it's kind of useful to just have as a night light or flood light kind of thing. And I just appreciate lights that have multiple functions in them, because if you're going to carry a flashlight, it should do a lot, I think, because people are going to say, oh, your phone has a flashlight, which is true. So I'm trying to cram and extract as much utility out of carrying a flashlight if I have to. Next, let's talk about my wallet. I'm using the Ridge wallet in aluminum. This is the forest green color, and I'm just really liking this color. So this is why I'm using it for now. But if I'm not using this color, it's usually in this stonewashed titanium color, because it just matches the other gear that I showed you that had that like matte or stonewashed titanium finish. I've also got the Everyday Carry logo lasered on onto it for, you know, just a little bit of branding there. So that kind of helps when I'm out and telling people what I do for a living. They're like, oh, Bernard, so what do you do? I'm like, I make TikToks about knives. And I'm not lying, right? So it is a cash trap variation. So I do keep some spare cash here when I'm like buying tacos or something. And then I just have a bunch of my cards in here, and it's just very minimal, lightweight, RFID blocking. This is like the hard wallet that I went to, and then I'm just sticking with this. Full disclosure, Ridge Wallet acquired Everyday Carry, so they are the parent company. But as far as hard wallets go, still using the Ridge, and I was before. So that's that. Next, let's talk about my keychain. If you guys like watch my videos or follow the podcast, like, you know, I need to fix this. This is a lot on the keychain, and it's suspended on a Handgray H4 EDM carabiner here. So, and then it is attached to a Handgray, it's like a geometric split ring. That's also just a really expensive titanium key ring. But I got this a long time ago when it was on Kickstarter, and it is still held up since I believe it was 2016 or 2017. So like usually when you have carabiners and stuff, like the gate wears out. That has not been the case for this. So it feels pretty robust. I haven't lost my keys yet, so that's a good review, right? And then on this, I have my car key fob, 2013 Toyota Prius. I'm like not fooling anyone that I'm a car guy or anything. It's reliable and it works. I'm gonna spend my money on EDC gear, right? I also have a backup flashlight. I've always liked carrying flashlights on my keychain because you can get so much light and runtime out of these modern keychain flashlights. And when it comes to keychain flashlights, my favorite brand is Rovivon, and this is a Rovivon A2 in stainless. So it's not even like the newest, and it isn't titanium, but it is serviceable in a good way. I say that like it sounds like it's a bad thing, but no, it's pretty good. The only thing I wish that were different was I wish this were a high CRI or a warmer tint light, because this is just a cool white. Cool white works, but it's like not for the discerning tint snob. Then I keep all my keys in a Ridge key case in stonewashed titanium. I have 4 keys in here, which I think is just the bare minimum that it makes sense to have a key organizer, especially on a single post design like the Ridge key case. So if you have less than 4 keys, I think it adds more bulk to add a key organizer. Like 3 keys or less, you're probably okay. But if you have more than 4, like definitely, I think you should consider getting one of these. It is a little bit bulky just because it has this pocket clip on the back, but this is really useful if you don't have a equally bulky carabiner on the other end. And then lastly, I also carry hearing protection. This is the loop switch, and I can just pop them in for you real quick. They look like this. Somebody asked me, why do you use earplugs? And one, it's like hearing damage is irreversible. So whether it's like you're at a really loud movie for like 3 hours, or you're at a concert or a music festival, super loud, sporting event, noisy restaurant, at the range, like whatever, like just walking outside in New York City or something, just like a busy city, these just like help me feel like I'm not going to damage my hearing, because I do enjoy music and I need my ears. They also just take the edge off from like high stress situations where there's a lot of stimuli. Some people, they need that to focus or to calm down. And when I really want to get into the zone, it just helps to have these with me, and they weigh basically nothing. So I keep them in my EDC. And if I'm not carrying those, then like I even have like a backup in like almost every bag or my car or something, because things can get really uncomfortable if it's just too loud and like your ears hurt and your ears ring. That is kind of an unconventional thing that I keep in my EDC, but I highly recommend to everyone. It doesn't have to be particularly the Loop brand ones, because they are kind of expensive for what they are, but I think the design again looks really good and the optics help. So you could also, part of my EDC are Apple AirPods Pro. I use these just like for taking calls, listening to music, podcasts, whatever. But you can also use the noise canceling on these to act as kind of like hearing protection. But the downside of this is just the general optics. If you keep these in your ears for a long time, you might look unapproachable, or like you're not really there and it's kind of rude because you're listening to something else. That's why I like having earplugs, and earplugs don't run out of battery to work. Speaking of Apple products, I guess for my phone, I have the iPhone 15 Pro Max in titanium. I use this mainly for work, and I'm trying to practice kind of like a digital minimalism. So I'm trying to be not as much on my phone and consuming too much, just enough to kind of like know what content works and like the content that I can make for you guys and interact with you guys. And it's a great phone for that. The cameras are like top of the line, whatever. The titanium versions in the 15 Pro is what pushed me over the edge to go Pro Max, because I like smaller phones, I have smaller hands, and these take up a lot of space in the pocket, but they are light enough now because of titanium that they're comfortable enough for an EDC kind of phone, like a daily phone. So that's like the core of my EDC, but I do have a bunch of other gadgets that I like to rotate in or to supplement my carry. And these are more on the digital minimalism / productivity side of things. So if you're like coming from like tech YouTube or productivity YouTube, this might be interesting to you. So I will first start with basically a second phone, but this is an e-ink reader in a phone format. This is the Onyx Books Palma, and I did a short video on this and why I like this. But basically it is an Android phone that can't make calls, but it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and Android, so you can install a bunch of apps, but it's an e-ink display, kind of like a Kindle or an e-reader, right? So the refresh is so bad and it's in black and white. So it's really best for text and light browsing and not like scrolling TikTok or YouTube or something, or Netflix, where you might just overconsume media when you meant to pick up your phone to help you do something more productive or like text-based or learning-based, right? So I'm using this mainly for language learning as one of my hobbies. I have a bunch of apps there to help me study and read content. This is also really light. So I really like this device, and I hope that we can see actual phones like this in the US to replace my next item, because when I have my main iPhone 15 Pro Max for work stuff, my weekend phone, or just like unplugged from that kind of phone, is this iPhone SE 2016. So it's essentially an iPhone 6S in an iPhone 4S, 5S series kind of body. It's like way smaller. I just got a new battery installed in it, and it's basically as good as new. So this still runs iOS. You can still text with it, still do iMessage. The camera aesthetic is like kind of sucky, but that's cool now. So this is like a nice phone that I use to stay away from getting too caught up in work and all those notifications and all the noise that might happen. Then I've been trying to read a lot more and learn a lot more. And then for that, if I'm not on the go, or if I'm going to go somewhere where I know I will be sitting for a while, then I have this Onyx Books Leaf 2 White, available only in China edition, because the screen doesn't have like an extra layer above it. It's sunken in. So it makes the text clearer, and this is just more ergonomic. It has dedicated page turning buttons. And again, this is also Android based, so I can install different reader apps and get different content on an e-ink device. Then last e-ink device, this is a Rada Supernote A6X2 Nomad. This just came out pretty recently. It is basically like an e-ink tablet that you can write on, and this has replaced a bunch of notebooks that I used for my personal stuff like journaling, to-do lists, habit tracking, and miscellaneous notes like when I'm in a meeting. So this just combines a lot of that stuff. And this is not Android, but it has a pretty robust internal document linking system. And I'm coming from enjoying stationery and fountain pens. So this has its own pretty fancy stylus, and it writes pretty well. It's not like writing on an iPad. I think this is just a lot less distracting and more intentional in its purpose. And that's kind of the kind of ethos that I want to keep with all my EDC gear, is kind of like pick the right tool for the job and don't try to consolidate functionality so much that the design or the performance of each suffers, right? And then one thing that I always have, probably more than any other item in my everyday carry, is a watch. I've always liked watches, and I've always liked Seiko watches. So I would say my first luxury watch purchase and my everyday watch right now is this Grand Seiko SBGW 289 Sakura Cherry Blossom themed watch here. So this is a 36.5 millimeter diameter manual wind mechanical movement watch made by Grand Seiko, which is like the top luxury tier of Seiko. And I got this sort of to celebrate how far EDC, like everydaycarry.com, has come. But this just wears so comfortably on my wrist. I have 16 centimeter or 6.25, 6.5-ish inch wrists. It has a compact lug to lug length of around, I think, 44 millimeters. So it fits very nicely, which is something you want in an everyday watch. I know some people like to have really big watches, but I think like the best everyday watches are ones that are simple. So this one is just time only, 3 hands, no date complication, reliable. Like I can control just how much power reserve is left just by winding it every morning. It's 100 meters water resistant. So it's capable if it does get wet or I get caught in the rain or need to swim with it or something, wash the dishes, whatever. And the looks are versatile enough because it's kind of like a sporty dress watch. So it sort of goes with everything. The dial is this like beautiful textured dial that's like the babiest of pink. It's like cherry blossom pink, but only in certain angles. Otherwise, it looks mostly silver. And I think that just goes with everything. So this smaller, more compact, more comfortable, simpler watch, I think is so versatile that it's good for an everyday EDC watch. And I really love watches. So if you guys love watches too, I will share more of my collection and hopefully some more. I could talk about watches all day. So that just about covers my entire core collection and then some of my productivity and digital minimalism tools. Thank you so much for watching my EDC update for 2024. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the gear in the comments, or if you have any recommendations for me as I move towards a different keychain setup for this year. I think that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So if you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe. We're almost at 15,000 subs, so that would really help push us over the edge. And until the next one, peace.